What's up, Mr. G here, and in this video we're going to be drawing the drawing titled 2D-1, which looks like this. It's basically just a square that's 4 inches by 4 inches on the top and side, and then it's got a little diamond shape inside of that rectangle or that box that just touches on the midpoints of those lines. So before we start, I'm going to flip to the 2D Basics title block here, which is just a blank title block. And I'm going to show you which tools that I have on down here in my toolbar. So first thing is dynamic input. It should be blue. Blue means that it's on. Anything on this taskbar down here, if it's gray or black, that just means it's available to turn on, but it's not on currently. So the first thing you should have turned on is dynamic input. So I'll show you what that does. When dynamic input is off, so I just turned it off, whenever you're drawing lines, there's no information really given about the line that you're currently drawing. When you turn dynamic input on, whenever you're drawing lines, it specifies on the line as you're drawing it how long the line is, what angle it is, so you can get a better idea of what it is you're drawing and how long and what angle the line is that you're drawing. So I'm going to have that on pretty much all the time. And then the next tool that I have on is called polar tracking, which restricts cursors to specified angles. And I also have, right to the right of it, there's little options for this tool, and I have it set to 45. So what that tool does is whenever you're drawing lines, every 45 degrees, your mouse will snap to kind of a little green dashed line. So 0 degrees, as I'm going straight to the right here, you see that green line pop up. And as I increase my angle and go around, as I get closer to 45, it'll snap to be green like that. It just makes it easier to draw and have your mouse snap to certain angles. And you can set this to all different types of angles in the settings down here, but for today's drawing here, I'm going to just put it on 45 degrees. Okay, so that's on. Next thing is object snap. And here are the object snap settings that I have. I'm actually going to turn on, some of these are on by default. I think midpoint's not on by default, but I'm going to turn on endpoint, midpoint, center, geometric center, node, quadrant, intersection. I'm going to turn extension off. Perpendicular is nice to have, and I'll go ahead and turn on insertion also. We're not going to use all of these today, but it is important that we have some of these on, like endpoint and midpoint are probably the most important. And make sure that that button is blue also, and I'll show you what it does. So let's say you have a line drawn like this. Whenever you have object snap on and you want to create a new line that connects to this original line that we had, it gives you these little green objects that pop up at certain locations. This one is an endpoint object snap right here, as you can see, because it snaps onto the end of the line. There's also midpoint, which is the shape of a triangle as I go on the middle of a line. And there's several others that we'll go through later, but these are the main two that we need to make sure we have on, because it allows you to just draw lines connecting to others. If you don't have that on, you can draw one line perfectly fine, however long you want it. But then when you try and connect another line to that, there's nowhere to snap onto. So as you can get it pretty close, you click, and then you're like, oh, that looks pretty good. And then as you zoom in to further inspect it, you realize there's a gap, or sometimes they'll overlap or something like that. So we want to have object snap on. And those are the three main ones. You can also have show annotation objects on. We'll go through what that means later. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here, and again, we're trying to create a 4x4 rectangle first. So I'm going to start by using the line tool, clicking here, and it doesn't matter where you put it, we're going to center it up later. So we click the line tool, choose a point somewhere, anywhere inside the box, and then we're just going to move our mouse to the right. We don't have to hold the mouse down or anything. You just click once to start your first point, and then you move your mouse the direction you want to go. And you should see that number getting bigger and bigger. We're going to type in the value 4. So we just go to our little keyboard here, and we just type in 4 and hit enter. That makes a line perfectly 4 inches long. Then we're going to move our mouse straight down and do the same thing. We're going to type in 4. Don't don't click, don't try and find it with your mouse. That usually takes too long, and sometimes it can make the lines not exactly 4 also. So I'm just going to move my mouse down in that general direction and type 4, enter. And then I'm moving my mouse to the left and typing 4, enter. And then I'm going to move my mouse straight up and type 4, enter. And when I'm done, I'm connected back to that top left corner of the box. I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard, and that will get me out of the line command. Okay, so now I've got a box. The next part is going to be creating these diagonal, the diamond shape, the 45-degree lines here. We're going to click the line tool up top. We're going to hover our mouse until we see that midpoint, that green triangle show up, and we're going to click there. And then your mouse should be snapping at the correct angle, 45 degrees, if you have polar tracking on. And we're just going to go and click right here. So I'm trying to display that you can type in values to create lines, but you can also just move your mouse and click, as long as you have an object snap to snap onto. Like these lines are kind of a random number in length. They're 2 13/16 of an inch, but as long as we're connecting midpoint to midpoint, we'll get the shape that we want. And once you've reached the top, you just hit escape, and then there's our drawing. Okay, so as you can see in my example drawing here, this object is perfectly centered within our title block, so that's what I want to do next. So we're going to use the Move tool right here. It's in the Modify panel. First, whenever I'm using things in the Modify panel, I like to select the objects first if I can. So with my mouse, I'm just going to click right about here, and don't hold on to the mouse, but just let go. And then move my mouse, and it'll kind of create a selection box, a green selection box. And I'll move it up here and click again. What that does is it selects all the objects that were inside that box. And then I'm going to use the Move tool. So I click up here to the Move tool, and then on my mouse it'll say specify a base point. So what that means is it wants you to click on part of your object. It's kind of like picking it up from that point. So really it doesn't matter where you click here. I'm just going to click randomly here. And then the object is attached to your mouse. So I'm going to move it outside of the title block and click again. Okay, so to center our object, we're going to use the Line tool, and we're going to create an X inside of our title block that goes from there to there. Okay, what that does is it gives us the center of our drawing space here. I know that that is now the center. And then I'm also going to do that to our little drawing up here. Just drawing diagonal lines going from top corner to bottom corner like that. So that is the center of my drawing object here. And then I'm going to use the Move tool to move this point, basically that point right there, onto this point. And that should center my drawing. So again, I'm going to use the Move tool. I select my object. If you don't click and let go, what your mouse is going to do is it's going to look like this. A lot of people do this starting out. And it just makes it harder to select things. Like, yeah, it still accomplishes the same thing, but the easiest way to do it is just click and let go, move your mouse, click and let go. And then use the Move tool, and we're going to pick it up from this midpoint right here. It should be a little triangle, should say midpoint. We click to pick it up, move our mouse over to this point, and click again to drop it down. And then we're going to use the Erase tool, which is right up here, to erase all of these diagonal lines that we used to move our object in the correct location. Okay, so that's that. Next step, we're going to create these two linear dimensions that tell us how big the square is. So up here in the Properties panel, there's an Object Color drop-down menu. By default, it says by layer. We're going to draw some measurements that we want to have a different color. So I'm going to choose one of these blues up here. Let's choose this one. I'm not sure if that's the right one, but we'll go with it. And then now, everything I draw, since my current object layer is set to that blue color, now everything that I draw will be blue. Up here in the Annotation panel is the Linear Dimension tool. We're going to click on that. And then we're going to click this top left corner of our box and then the top right corner of our box, and then we bring our mouse up and click again, and it creates the measurement for us. And there's one more on the left, linear dimension. You just click the two endpoints of the distance you're trying to measure, bring it out, click again. And that's basically our object. The only thing left to do now is change the title and the name. So to change text in AutoCAD, all you have to do is move your mouse over the white of the text and double click. So this is existing text. If you double click over the black part, like I'm getting really zoomed in here, but if you try double clicking where there's actually space, it doesn't work. So move your mouse over the white part of the text and then double click and you can change the title. This title is 2D-1, and then you just click off, hit escape. And then I'm going to change the name, double click to my name. And I'm going to keep that part that says 2D Basics the same. Okay, and that's it for this drawing.